And you stop shooting little darts across at your colleagues. That's not allowed in the chamber.
I can't help it.
No, that's John. Okay, we've called the meeting to order. The first thing we'll... Will you rowdy bunch settle down? Let's get first to the agenda, shall we? I'll accept a motion on the agenda as presented. Moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Are there any additions to the agenda? I see none that have been circulated. Are there any to be circulated? All right, call the question. Oh, I'm sorry. But that's included in the committee report, is it not?
No. It was sent as an email.
Separate from, but it's going to be done as part of the report. That's perfect. Okay. We'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion carried. We will now entertain a motion on the minutes and the action report of June 28, 2011, moved by Councillor Stoyles, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Are there any errors or omissions, again, from the public council meeting of June 28th? Anybody whose phone rings has to buy dinner.
This isn't Hockey Night in Canada. Remember our other colleague used to have that?
It's not Hockey Night in Canada, no. All right.
Councillor Grant, remember?
We have the motion in front of us. Any errors or omissions, again, from the minutes of June 28th?
Nothing?
Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. The next item then would be business arising. Business arising from the meeting of June 28th. Anybody? Business arising, going once, going twice. We're doing wonderful. No business arising. We have no proclamations, presentations today, save one. Council, I want to introduce, I'm only going to introduce one person to you, and she is then in turn going to introduce the others and tell us a little bit about our brand new minted green team down there in the corner. Monica, I'm going to get you to come up here, if you would. Council, this is Monica Storch, and she is a GIS technician with planning and development. And she's going to tell us a little bit about the green team and the project that they've undertaken on behalf of the city of Mount Pearl on the Waterford River. Monica, we'll turn things over to you for a minute.
All right, thank you. As Randy, your worship said, I'm a GIS technician here with the city of Mount Pearl, representing today the Planning and Development Department. We're pleased this summer to have hosting a CCNL Green Team. They are working on our project, Waterford River Cleanup and Environmental Awareness Program. They started last week and have been out in the river a little while. And so I'm just going to pass it on now to Brittany King, team leader, and she'll tell you a bit more about the project.
Hi, this is Monica just said. We are the green team this summer. I'm Brittany King. This is Patrick, Chris, and Evan. This summer we're going to be cleaning up the Waterford River, which entitles us to pick up small debris and litter around the stream side and note where larger items are so they can be picked up at a later date. Throughout the summer we will also be taking place in environmental awareness events. So this is going to inform the community how important the Waterford River is, and it's also going to help promote the safety of it. Our first event is going to be the Mount Pearl City Days, which takes place this weekend. What else? That's it. Oh, and we made a brochure to help convey our message.
That's good. Brittany, can you tell us, have you been on the river already?
Yep, we started working on the river last Tuesday.
What have you found?
There's a lot of garbage out there.
It's as bad as I said it was.
Oh, worse.
It's worse.
Yeah.
There's some of the pictures they've taken are in the brochure.
Okay. Oh, there's some actual.
Yeah, like that was taken on the river.
Oh my God.
And the fish is in the river?
No, but that was a picture they found. But there are brown trout in the river though.
So in the process of doing the cleanup, let me see if I understand what we're doing here now. We've got 4 of you down there. You're going around and you're cleaning up a lot of this small debris, the cans and the paper bags and the plastic bags and so on. You make note that there's a bed in the river, which fascinates me, and you will identify where that is, and we'll get a crew and a machine to go out and take that stuff out of there at some point. Yes. Are you planning anything at all that would engage the green team with the community. And I'm thinking in terms of inviting some community groups and other to maybe wade out in the water with you one afternoon and try and help us do something to really clean this river.
We won't be wading out in the water because we're not asking the team to actually go in the water. That's not a safety issue we are prepared to take on, to accept. But we are in.
I want a backhoe in the water, Monica.
No.
Never mind.
No, we're not
You're
putting
good.
it back
You're
over
good.
the river. But we are in the preliminary stages of planning business and community blitz. We just haven't quite figured out how that's going to happen and when that's going to happen, but we are planning on trying to engage some of the public to come out
And spend like an afternoon.
Spend some time with the team on the river.
There was a group that had been involved, friends and lobbyists of the
Yeah,
Waterford
we've been in
River.
contact with NAACAP is who we've been in contact with.
So you've been in contact
Yeah.
with them because I think they're interested. They contacted me back a while ago when this was being talked about.
Yeah.
And, they said that they would
Yeah.
like to get involved.
Yeah,
and get
they actually have a
the-
green team as well this summer, so we're kind of, if their opportunity presents it, we're going to actually have our two green teams work together collaboratively on a bit of the projects, so be good for them.
And you're going to be at this for 8 weeks, so you've got 1 week in.
Well, 2 weeks in, but then, because their first week was actually in training,
Okay.
so they've been here 1 full week. This is their second full week here, so it's,
All right, that's excellent. Where do these young people all hail from?
well, we actually have 2 Mount Pearl residents,
Yeah, 2 boys from Mount Pearl.
yeah.
Where are the other 2 coming to us from?
I was born in St. John's, but I grew up in England, and I've come back for the summer.
Somehow I can tell you grew up in England. I don't know
Okay,
why
no
that.
way.
I don't know what would give it away, but I
Close?
can tell. That's great. And Brittany, you're
I'm from the Gulls.
you're one of the townies now from the Ghouls.
Yeah.
Well, we're delighted to have all 4 of you and Monica, you as well, working on this. It is a picturesque river. I think as you walk it and you study it and you learn about it, you can appreciate what a beautiful asset it is, not just by the way to Mount Pearl, but to Paradise, to St. John's, to everywhere this river flows through. So I think this cleanup and this initiative is a wonderful one, and I want to applaud you for undertaking it. It's a good project, and we look forward to finding out that there's good results to stem from it, I think it's fair to say. Thank you for this, Monica. Thank you for bringing the team in. And when you get your day organized, let us know.
We will, we definitely,
I know some guys will go in the river for you.
I would just like to get a picture with you, your worship.
You
and
can,
the team.
certainly.
Before you
Sure.
go to that snap, your worship, just wondering what do you got planned for City Days this week now toward the end of the week?
Do you want to take that?
Yeah.
We're going to Powers Pan on Saturday, so
Okay.
we're taking part in the scavenger hunt. So we have a booth set
Yeah.
up.
Okay.
And then after the scavenger hunt, we'll just be giving out information. And then we're going to St. David's Field on Sunday.
Okay.
That's great.
And
Yeah.
This information here,
So they'll be handing, sorry?
Are you going to get up on the stage during the
Uh,
concerts? No?
They're looking forward to all the music, but
Right.
we produced a brochure with to actually hand out at the different events. So we'll be handing that out, and then I made a map showing the water course with the Waterford River through Mount Pearl, so they can have that there, and they'll just be answering questions and bringing up things like a couple good taglines that we've come up with about littering. Ask somebody, well, how would you feel if somebody came and dumped some garbage on your front lawn? Right? So to get people to think that the natural area is animals' habitat, so we got to kind of think about it that way.
and if somebody offers to help the weekend, will you be taking names of people who, when you do your
Yeah,
because maybe some people say,
we are
let us know.
we are going to have a sign-up sheet for the community blitz at City Days. Because right now we're not sure exactly when it's going to happen, so we'll take names and contact information, and we can get back to people.
Perfect.
Well, we think that's wonderful. Thank you guys very much. All right, you want to do the picture?
Yes.
Okay, how do you want to do it? Well, let's get Brian to do the picture, and you get in the picture with us, Monica.
Thought you were getting away, didn't you?
All right. Come on in here, guys. I don't. Yeah, you want to do it out front? Would that be easier? Out in front easier? Or is... All right. Everybody got a brochure? Should hold up the brochure.
And we're going to look happy because we're cleaning up, right?
And we got to look happy.
Happy face.
Okay, big smiles, ready?
There you go.
1, 2, 3.
Take another one.
Okay.
Don't
There you go.
I think that one's probably worked out better.
Well, you just take one.
Brittany, thank you. Good luck. Thank you. Great, guys. Thank you very much.
I will take care. Thank you. All the best.
Thanks, guys, very much.
Election picture in the river.
I think that's great.
Put your snorkel on
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and your diving mask.
I think that's great. Okay, correspondence, we have none. No public works report today. Our first report this afternoon will be the Community Services Committee. Councillor Walsh, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Just the one single item, and as you say, this could be a fairly brief meeting, at least from Community Services perspective.
Perspective.
This weekend, of course, we have our big weekend kicking off the City Days event. I'm just going to turn this microphone on. I apologize for that. All the press are up in arms down there. The Friday... Don't want anybody to miss anything. The Friday event, of course, is our traditional family pig roast and outdoor movie at St. David's. And we've actually talked about changing the pig roast any number of times. But, you know, it's still one of the most popularly single popular event of the entire weekend. And it attracts a different kind of a group. So after some discussion and a little bit of debate, you know, the pig roast remains, and it's a very, very popular event. As
Well,
I say.
Councillor Stawes wanted a moose roast, but let's get.
Yeah, that would be one less to deal with, for
Right,
sure.
that's right. Yeah.
On Saturday, Your Worship, we have, and those who've participated, the Family Fun Day at Powers Pond is always a lot of fun, and on a good day, always extremely well attended. And by the way, the forecast for Saturday is absolutely splendid, 20-odd degrees and very light winds. The Classic Car Show will be going on, and of course, the youth enjoy the Pearl Stock event on Saturday as well at St. David's. They kind of take over that venue, and that's always a great day. And of course, City Days, we traditionally consider to be City Days the actual Sunday event, but it's a full weekend blitz. But a great lineup of artists and always a huge crowd. And again, as long as the weather cooperates, and that's always a big qualifier around here, it should be just a fabulous weekend. We're looking forward to it, and look forward to seeing all of us, councillors, residents of all age, young and old, out to the events and participating and having a lot of fun. That's what the summer is all about, and it's particularly in this area, City Days is one of the highlight. It is the highlight, really, of our summer festival, and it is probably one of the most popular summer festivals in the entire region. So we look forward to it. And that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It is going to be fabulous again, I just know. We're moving on to corporate services. Councillor Lane.
One's all pulled up. Okay, thank you, Your Worship. First item, Your Worship, in terms of the TIPA legislation which came into effect, I believe it was last year, which has to do with privacy and so on, access to information. One of the things that we are required to do internally here is to develop a couple of policies. And so we have a couple of new policies here for the Information Council relating to access of information and so on. And so we just need a motion of council to pass this. And basically it's just for our own internal purposes, and it will basically guide staff in terms of what information we would release and how it would be released and so on. And also information that we receive from residents as it might relate to paying their taxes and all the personal information that information is guarded and is not used for other purposes and so on. So these two policies are put in place internally to deal with those issues. So we need a motion of council to adopt them. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Tessier, that we approve, I think it's two pieces of policy work. One relating to the access to information policy and the protection of privacy policy, both of which council have in front of them now. I'll ask for any comment or question. Does anybody have any inquiries about this at all? What we're doing here? Hearing none, we'll call it. All those in favor? Contrary minded, the motion is carried.
Next, Your Worship, the invoices for approval, totaling $799,623.88, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Tessier. Invoices for approval, items 1 through 14. Questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favour? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
And the final item, Your Worship, outside of the kit.
Right.
Basically, Your Worship, we have, I'm tabling the financial and compliance audit, which was completed by Harrison Ryan as it related to the money we received under the Building Canada Fund. I believe it was just about $14 million, $13,380,531. And this was money, as I said, we received for the Glacier project under the Building Canada Fund.
Yep.
It's actually, this is the first audited statement, I believe, Ms. Peach, for the province, you were saying? For the country. Interesting. We were the first ones to receive it and to be audited. And so
We got a clean audit.
yeah, and everything is squeaky clean. Everything was perfect. There was no issues found. Everything was done just the way it should have been done. So I so move. The
You're
adoption of
moving
this.
or you're tabling, or do we have to adopt it?
Apparently, we have to. We need a formal motion of council
To adopt the
accept-
report. The report.
Adopt the report. So
It is moved, seconded by Councillor Tessier, I'm assuming. All those in favour? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Economic Development, Communications, Tourism Committee report. Councillor Stoyles.
Just have one item, Your Worship, as Councillor Lane's iPad is not working. I lost my glasses through the windstorm. They actually blew off my head a couple of days ago, and I can keep those on for about 20 or 30 seconds. I'm lucky that's all I lost. Anyway,
Well, that's why these iPads will actually increase the font for you.
It is, so it's good. Anyway, Your Worship, about a year ago, our department hired a consultant to do an economic development, tourism and marketing strategy, and they started this process, like I said, a year ago, and back a couple of weeks ago, they presented it to council at a committee of the whole, and what we're doing this evening now is asking, or presenting it to council and accepting their report. I guess it's basically the same thing as we done a number of years ago with the recreational master plan. Anyway, this group took just about a year to come into Mount Pearl and look at what we've done and what we're looking at doing over the next 5 years with economic development within the city. They met with all the stakeholders within the city. They met with business. They met with our Chamber of Commerce. They met with, like I said, all the different stakeholders with the sports groups and everything. They even went outside and went beyond Mount Pearl, and they met with the Board of Trade. They met with Destination St. John's, and of course they met many times with our staff and did a fine report for us. So what we're going to do now is have everybody around the table has had a chance to read the report. So what we're going to do now is take it back to economic development and pick out and start putting things into place. We may not take everything that they recommended and do, neither do we do that with the recreation master plan, but what we will do now is bring it back and start picking and choosing what is going to work for the city. And the department have, under, I guess, Brander's direction, has now been guided to look at a couple of major, pieces that we're going to look at first, and we may take a different direction in what we've done with economic development, like going to trade shows and things like that. We focused over the past number of years on the oil shows, and we may look at doing different things. And of course, we've been promoting getting a hotel in Mount Pearl, and we have 2 small hotels in Mount Pearl. When people talk about we don't have a hotel in Mount Pearl, it really bothers me, because people have worked in hotels in our city for the past 20 or 30 years, for 20 years for sure, at the Mount Pearl Hotel and at the Greenwood Hotel. And these people, when they hear people talk about Mount Pearl don't have a hotel, they get upset. And, they have every reason to get upset, even though, it's not to the level that we would like to have a first-class hotel with, all kinds of, with a restaurant and all kinds of, spaces for people to have a wedding and things like that. But, that's the kind of things that this report is going to be looking at doing, and we certainly encourage all business to come into Mount Pearl. So basically what we're doing now is accepting this report this evening and moving forward then on the direction of Ms. Elwood to see which direction we're going to move forward into, and hopefully in the next number of months we will be bringing back recommendations on where we're going to move forward with economic development. That's it, Your Worship.
That is moved. Who's seconding? Deputy Mayor is seconding. All right. Any question or comment on anything thus far related to this? Hearing none, we'll call it. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Your Worship, I was going to say the highlights is there, and I'm assuming they're going to be put on our website the same as the Recreation Master
I think
Plan.
once Council's done a review, I think that will be the case, yeah. Thank you. We are on to planning and development. Deputy Mayor.
All right. I'm getting feedback here. Is that mic still on, I wonder?
No, this one's off.
Anyone else getting the feedback, or is it just me?
Stand up.
I can't stand up.
Put it away from you. Just put it away from you.
Is that a little better? Better?
Put it further away.
Don't make me laugh, it hurts. All right. My apologies. Too close.
Yeah, his father. Oh, my.
All right, the first item here, Your Worship, has to do with the Hillside Living Subdivision Development, Phase 1A1. The Planning and Development Department has received the signed subdivision development agreement for this particular development from the developer Leopard Canada Limited, which is proposing to construct, it says here 12 single-family detached dwellings, but I think it was 8 dwellings with or without subsidiary apartments on 8 lots on Stonegate Crescent there, which is located, as we said, north of Black Marsh Road. The signing of this particular agreement is a condition of the development permit that was issued to the developer on June the 1st of 2011, and we're recommending that approval be granted for yourself, Your Worship, and our CAO to sign the Hillside Living Phase 1A1 Subdivision Development Agreement on behalf of the city, and I so move.
It is moved by Deputy Mayor Locke, and it's going to be seconded by Councillor Tessier. Questions or comments?
Just one, Your Worship.
Councillor Walsh?
Yeah, this project is for all of us is very welcome news, obviously, Your Worship. This is the actual project that was under the name of Synergy previously. This is a very small first phase, as the Deputy Mayor mentioned, and we hope that it'll be the first of many more phases, because I think there are several hundred houses that have the potential for development there. And our understanding was that this group, Leopard Canada, are actually taking over the Synergy development as it was originally proposed. So hopefully we'll have many more to come, and this will be the same beautiful development, adding quite a bit of residential housing to what we have here in Mount Pearl already, and we very much look forward to it. I certainly want to applaud as well our planning department for following through on this. This is something that Council saw as a very important and necessary initiative that we wanted to see sustained, and it's great that some new people came in and are moving forward with the development. So good for the planning department, and I think it's very welcome news for all of us here in Mount Pearl.
Councillor Lane?
Yes, Your Worship, I agree with Councillor Walsh. It's obviously very welcome news, but one point I would like to raise and to go back to planning to have a look at is initially when Synergy were involved, there was a couple of phases. They had bought the Cowan property, and that's the area where they're currently now going to be developing, as I understand it. But they also had the first right of refusal, I believe, on the Dooley's, I think it's Dooley's property,
Yep.
which would be more so on the corner, say, of Topsail Road and Blackmarsh, further down, if you will. Synergy then, basically, before they sort of left the scene, they had basically gone back to the Dooleys and said that they weren't interested at that time, but they maintained the Cowan property, which is what's now being developed. Originally, the intent for that, of course, we've seen a couple of different proposals. Originally, we were looking at large condominium buildings and so on, and then eventually it came down to it would be larger homes as opposed to condominiums. So I'm not sure where we're to with the lower part of Black Marsh Road, the Dooley part, and what it's zoned for and so on. But one thing I would point out is that under this economic development study, which Councillor Stoyles alluded already, one of the things that's in there, and certainly the presentation we heard, is that there's an absolute need in the region for Class A office space and office building development and so on. And not just in the St. John's urban core, but also in the outlying areas as well, because of the difficulty they're having in developing into downtown. So, you know, based on the amount of land that we have left there for development, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to at least revisit that lower half of Black Marsh Topsail, because it is a commercial area already, anyway, at least part of it is, and explore, you know, do we want to see all of that from what's being developed now right down to Topsail Road? Do we want to see that as being all residential? Or is there an opportunity there for building development and so on, and something which we could derive much more taxation from and so on to help sustain the community? So
That's a good question to
so
put to
I would like to have that
planning.
looked at.
Yeah, we'll take that back
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
The issue of that land, as you said, the Dooley Hill property, west of that, was raised at the last committee meeting, and they were going to check into that. So Mr. Yavchek is not here today, but certainly I'll bring that back to the committee.
Any other comment? If not, any other comment? Call the question then. All those in favour, contrary minded? The motion is carried.
All right, and further to Councillor Walsh's point here, the next one here also deals with the Hillside Living Subdivision, but this one is Phase 1A2. So it is the first one that we just mentioned, the signing of that subdivision agreement is the start of many. This one here deals with a 39-lot residential subdivision. And this one is on Pembury Close. Again, it's going to be developed on about 11.12 acres. And to Councillor Walsh's point, this was the Synergy property. And essentially what Leopard Canada is asking to do, they want to proceed with the development with very little change to what Synergy had already proposed and was given approval for from Council. So they're anxious to get this on the way here. So as you can see, contained within your kit is a map that shows you know, where we're going to locate this and the like. It's gone through the internal review from our various departments. We've had external referrals as well. There was no issues here, and the Planning and Development Department has no concerns with this particular proposal, and they're recommending approval of the application and the issuance of a development permit for these 39 residential lots. Again, it's Phase 1A-2 of this Hillside Living Subdivision development, and of course subject to the 10 conditions that are outlined there, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Question, comments? All those in favour, contrary minded? Motion carried.
The next item, Your Worship, has to do with the Development Regulation Amendment in response to an issue that was brought here back in May with respect to crescent-shaped driveways. We did get a request from a resident, and looking at that particular situation, some residential lots within the city can accommodate such driveways, and Council felt that in other areas the lot size was probably a little too small, but in some of the older parts of the city where the lots are a little larger, we could accommodate these. So we just wanted to amend our regulations to make sure that we could have the regulations there where Council can decide or direct you know, where these crescent-shaped driveways can go in. So they're outlined there. So we're recommending that the Mount Pearl Development Regulations Amendment number 209/2011 be adopted as presented, and I so move.
Moved, seconded. Comments? All those in favour, contrary minded? Motion's carried.
And the next item is a notice of motion. In accordance with Section 39 of the City of Mount Pearl Act 1988, take notice that in accordance with the Council's public notification policy, I will, at a regular meeting of Council, move an amendment to the Mount Pearl Development Regulations 1988 that, if enacted, will amend Part 1 of the general regulations by adding specific requirements for indoor parking facilities. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to provide Council with the authority to regulate indoor parking facilities.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. And the next is the development permit list for June 24th, to July the 8th of 2011. We have 4 items outlined there, and I move that they be accepted as presented.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried.
And the next are the building construction permits for June 25th to July 8th, 2011. Residential construction during this time period totaled $2,852,700, and commercial construction during the same time period totaled $1,700, bringing the total for this period to $2,854,400, and I move that these amounts be accepted as presented.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried.
And that's it for me, Your Worship.
And
Thank
that
you.
concludes planning and all committee reports. We move on now then quickly to new business. Last time we started on this side, so this time we start on this side. Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, very quickly, a couple of things. First of all, I want to take the opportunity, Your Worship, to just congratulate Councillor Stoyles and her SOPAC group, because obviously I think their lobby was probably the primary reason that government initiated a program to take some definitive action to curtail the moose, the number of moose accidents, and I guess the opportunities for moose to be wandering on the highways. It really has become problematic across the province. There's no one area that's seemed, from my observation at least, and I've traveled most of the entire island in the last few years, not one seems to be worse than another. I'm not sure, Councillor Stoyles, if these initiatives have gone necessarily far enough, but I think it's a great first step, and I just want to congratulate you for your involvement and your committee, SOPAC, for its organization, because I think it was that lobby that really had a strong effect to force government's hand to enact legislation, which, and not just legislation, I think initiatives such as the fencing on a trial basis and some other things, the increased call, etc., that will have some positive results and hopefully will keep all of us a little safer when traveling our highways. Your Worship, we've always been encouraging our residents to use their doggy-do bags when walking the trails and all of that, and I know this is not a pleasant topic to discussing, but it's a very important one. I had an email from a long-time resident of Mount Pearl who lives still on 3rd Street, and it was a real mixed email of good news and bad news. The good news was she saw a regular dog walker on 3rd Street pick up after her dog on the walk, but was absolutely disgusted and amazed and disappointed when she saw the dog walker, the owner of the dog, actually drop the bag into the storm sewer. I actually did receive an email asking her to highlight that, and what a juxtaposition to be in. I mean, you're actually cleaning up after your pet, but then you're dumping that into the storm sewer system, and for the few who might be silly enough to do that, it's one of the craziest things.
It won't work.
Except that it was so serious, it was almost laughable. But it was so serious that I, as unpleasant as it is, I wanted to make sure that on behalf of this lady who actually took the time to email me, I wanted to raise it. I know we do have situated throughout the city, a fairly ample supply of garbage containers and the like, but for God's sake, bring it home, if nothing else. That's what we do when we walk our family pet, and usually we're able to find, a garbage container well before that, but worst case scenario is to bring it back home. But I was just so taken back by it that I said, I will absolutely raise this for you as an issue at council and bring some public attention to it, because I thought it was just incredibly silly and
amazing.
Short-sighted. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Thank you very much.
Just to that, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Deputy Mayor Locke wants to respond.
I think that speaks to a bigger issue, that many people don't realise that the storm sewer is directly connected.
Hang on a second. The microphone is not adjusted properly. It's too high. That's what's causing the problem. We don't have
Is that
anybody
better
here
if I move it back there?
Yeah.
That'll work a little, yep. Okay, go ahead.
I think that speaks to a larger issue. And I know years ago they had the blue fish painted on some of these storm sewers, because many people don't realise that what goes there ends up out in the Waterford River.
Yeah.
And I think that was an initiative they took years ago to remind people that you don't dump your antifreeze or your paint thinners or your old paint down the storm sewer. So I'm not defending the actions of this lady, but I'm not surprised by that, because many people don't realise that what they put there ends up out in the river. So again, getting back to our green team and their whole public awareness, people need to know that everything is connected, that what goes down there, because
Ends up
many
in the
times
river.
I'm out bike riding or walking the trails.
It's not the sewer system like some people actually think it is.
Right.
That's what they think.
That's right. They think it's the sewer
People
system.
Not storm sewer.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
many times I'll see suds and detergents in the storm sewer outflows into the Waterford River. If people are washing their cars, for example, you'll know in an area when people are washing their cars, because you got all these suds
Yeah,
that
and
are
that
in the
stuff
Waterford
goes
River.
down.
So
That
it
stuff goes down.
speaks to a larger issue, I think. But well done to bring it up.
Anyway, she knew that doggy was in good hands when she called you.
I was shocked by it.
We're going to move on. Councillor Stoyles.
Yes, I have a couple of items, Your Worship, and thank you, Councillor Walsh. And one of the things I wanted to discuss is the moose. And back from the very beginning, when my daughter had her accident, actually, this council was the one that brought it to M&L and took the resolution on the floor, and it got passed to take action. And that was, I think, the very beginning when the government realised, I think, that they really need to do something. And no doubt it's been a long and hard battle, and I personally am quite thrilled that this is the direction. This is what we were asking the government to do some moose fencing, and the new system that they had, the new signal system that they had. We brought that to the province and tried to get them to take it on. So we are absolutely thrilled that the government have started this action, and no doubt it is a first step. And whether it's gone far enough or not, I mean, I think time will tell if it's gone far enough. And we really need to be pushing government, and that right now over 40 towns passed a resolution themselves to force the government to do something. So they knew action had to be taken. So the only thing I think our group was a little bit disappointed in, that some of the experts like Michael Parsons and Gordon Cooper, a Mount Pearl resident, who had put a lot of work into it, some of the experts we didn't get called to get them to be involved in the decision making, and that's too bad, because it's going to be a long haul to get done. And there is areas in the province, apparently, where according to what we've been told, where most moose accidents have happened is between Grand Falls and Gander, and that's apparently quite apparently is the most dangerous area. So I'm assuming part of the 15 kilometres that they're going to fence is going to be in that area, or I would assume it will be. And another area is by Butterpot Park and Roach's Line. Apparently that's the two. That's the two highest areas where, when you go out as far as Whitburn that way, that most accidents have occurred in the province. That's what we've been told by the police and that. And I want to say again, thank you to the City of Mount Pearl for taking the first step to put the motion to the floor. And it certainly has gone a long way, and it certainly has been noticed. The other thing I want to mention, Your Worship, is we had quite a windy day on the weekend, starting Saturday night and Sunday. I've received a number of calls about trees being down and on our property, and residents having to go out and do them, and I'm going to be bringing it forward actually this evening at our meeting after this one. But apparently, I don't know if we have a group going around after a major storm like that to go out and check in our areas and see if there's damage. I don't know if we had the staff on the weekend to actually do it, but I know of two people that called our emergency number, and like I said, I will be bringing that forward later on this evening, because I did call it in this morning to our staff and that. And I think we really need to be doing things like that when we have a major storm, because apparently it was a lot of damage. That's it, Your Worship.
All right, thank you very much. Councillor Tessier.
Just a couple of quick things. First of all, the gateway signage. I happened to notice, I've seen it in transition. I actually noticed the finished product a couple of days ago, one of our gateway signs. It looks really, really sharp. So much so that somebody from another town actually called me up and asked me who designed and did it, because they were so impressed with it when they saw it themselves.
Which one was that? Must be coming from...
Pitts Memorial, both
Yeah,
directions
Pitts.
are there, but the only thing I'd
Yeah.
love to see a welcome on it. It's just
Well-
City of Mount Pearl, and it's a big sign. I'd love to see welcome, City of Mount Pearl. They are beautiful.
Yeah,
They're
I don't
beautiful,
think it.
but-
I mean, welcome would be nice, but I don't think it's missing. I don't think that it lacks as a result. I mean, it certainly would add to it, and that's for sure. But anyway, in any event, the signs are really impressive, I must say. If you haven't seen them, definitely go have a look. And I can't wait until they're up in all of our entrances, because they're so sharp, so much nicer and modern and crisp, and it's pretty cool. On Saturday, I went to the Royal Canadian Provincial Track Meet. Royal Canadian Legion, provincial track meet. It was up here at the track and field. There were athletes there from all over the province competing, and of course the Legion not only hosts this, they sponsor it. This is an annual track meet that's been happening since 1975 across Canada, and they were looking for athletes that would make up the Newfoundland and Labrador team. Which they did. They did narrow it down to 17 athletes that are aged 13 to 17, with 2 coaches and 2 members of the Legion who act as chaperones, and that's Jim and Carol Kennedy. And let me tell you, they were head and ears involved in this event, as they always are, and you could really see how much they cared about the events themselves, what it does for the young people themselves. It was really wonderful to see it. And we actually have some representation from Mount Pearl going. We have Daniel Kellaway, Aaron O'Brien, and Jodine Williams, and they're all students at O'Donnell, and they're going to be representing Mount Pearl at this event, and I believe it is in August. It's August 3rd to the 9th, and it's at the Terry Fox Athletic Complex in Ottawa. And it should be noted that Wayne Gretzky is actually an athlete who went through this program when he was a young person.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that was a really neat thing to be a part of, and I commend the Legion for being so involved. They raise money to do this, to allow it to happen, and they're involved, and they go themselves to participate as chaperones, and it's just really wonderful, and I think that the Legion should be commended for it, and the volunteers, of course. There's a lot of parent volunteers that everybody here would recognize up at that event as well. One other item that I wanted to bring up. On Friday night, my husband and I were outside. We just decided we'd go out and have a little fire pit around 10:30, and we heard an animal in distress. And we always hear about taking care of your animals in the winter because it's cold and they could perish, and we always encourage our pet owners to be responsible. Well, on Friday night, we ended up having to get a flashlight and dig through the brush in the woods, and we found a kitten, and the kitten was so small it could fit into my hand. And it was about 11 o'clock at night, and it was all alone. And I woke 2 vets to try to figure out how to take care of this little creature because it couldn't even drink water on its own. And ultimately ended up bringing it, calling the pound, because we have life-threatening allergies in our house to cats. And the pound, I have to say, here in Mount Pearl have done an exceptional job taking care of this kitten. I even called in today, and they've gone, I think, above and beyond with taking care of it because it is so small. I had to feed it with an eyedropper. But anyway, I think it's really important, even though the weather is warm and the weather is pleasant, it is so important that we still take care of our pets. We have to be responsible pet owners. The next day was Saturday, or the day we had all the wind. That was Saturday, wasn't it? Or Sunday. We had all this wind and rain, and all I could think is if that poor little kitten was outside by itself, it would never have survived. It would never have. Yeah, so it's really, really important that even though the weather is fine, people have still got to be responsible for their pets, because that kitten, came from somewhere. And it was all alone. There was nobody. There was no...
Its eyes were open, though.
Eyes were open. It could barely walk. I kid you not. I held it in the palm of my hand.
So it was newborn. Somebody deserted it, is what happened.
I'm thinking either somebody deserted it, or the female or the mother cat was probably roaming and ended up having a litter somewhere, and she deserted it. But in any event, it was obviously in distress, and it was really distressful for us, and it was even harder knowing that we couldn't keep the cat with us. By the time we brought it back in, my son needed medication, and so did my husband. But I just want to make sure that our
Boy, am I ever
residents...
glad you never called me.
Well, you know what? I almost did, because I thought you're a cat person.
Yes, and it would have ended up at my house, and then my wife would have... I now have 2 cats.
You'd have 2 cats.
I'm really glad you didn't call me.
Well, I'm really
That's all
sorry,
saying.
because I tell you, one of the vets that I woke up actually encouraged me, do you know any cat people who might take it in? And you were on my mind, Your Worship, and so were you, Deputy Mayor. Let me tell you. But anyway, I think it's just really important that people are mindful of their animals and are responsible pet owners every single day of the year. And that's it.
I thank you so much for all of that and for not calling me. Councillor Lane. Because I would have ended up taking the cat. I just, I know that, see, and that's why I can't be there.
Staff at the depot did an excellent
Right? I have to be led to the other side of pet stores. I'm not allowed to go near them because of cute little cats.
You would have melted.
Deputy Mayor.
I have nothing, Your Worship.
Nothing at all. That being the case, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn. So says Councillor Walsh. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Not yet. Not yet. We'll do that formally. We'll do that at a formal point.